We are with Abby Kay, who's a guest on the Big Fat American Radio Network. She's got a new single out, which we'll get to just a little bit later on. We're going to play that. It should have been me. But right now, introducing the great virtuoso of the bass. Here she is, Abby Kay. Welcome to the Big Fat American Radio Show.
Thank you so much.
So, Abby, what made you decide to take up the bass? There's a story behind this that involves Kiss. Why don't you tell us?
So my first memory of music was I was about 5 years old, and I would ask my dad for songs like Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber to be put on my iPod, and he would give them to me in exchange for what he called the good stuff. So I got my Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber, but I also got Kiss, Metallica, Iron Maiden, and I really started to listen to rock music, and I really enjoyed it. So when I was about 12, he took me to see Kiss, and that is the night that I knew I had to play music. I remember sitting at the back of the lawn on top of my dad's shoulders. I was wearing the Paul Stanley makeup, and I was mesmerized by Gene Simmons. I just knew I have to do that.
And my daughter likes Gene Simmons, too. She's a little bit older than you. She's 19. You're 16. You're going to school. You're doing your music. So it must be a really full, schedule for you. So how does your day go? You go to school, then what do you do?
So I go to school, but I am very fortunate. My school has been very helpful with my schedule. I actually only have to go for the first 3 morning classes at my school, and then I take 3 college classes online.
Wow.
So I am out of school pretty quickly in the morning, and then honestly every day I head straight to the studio and I play music.
So do you think that one of the secrets to success, no matter what you do, is you got to make sure that you make time for your passions?
I think that is true. Like, I understand that school is very important. I will be completing school. I will be going to college. But I also want to have time to do what I really love doing. And, I mean, my passion is music. It's what I love to do. So I do need to make sure that I'm still working on that because I do hope to turn this into a career, and I want to be prepared for that when it's time to make that happen.
I'm not a teenager anymore. It's been many years since I was 16, and I would like to know what it's like these days being a 16-year-old. I look at the news. I see what's going on social media. What are some of your major concerns? What is it that affects you, and what are some of the things that you're worried about as a 16-year-old?
Honestly, I'm not a typical 16-year-old girl. I am not one of the popular ones at school, but I really find my way in other areas. I mean, I'm pretty well accepted in the music industry as a 16-year-old girl, and I just kind of hang with the people that I enjoy being around and that accept me as who I am.
Well, just so you know, I asked Braylon Edwards, former Jet and Brown wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns, the same question, and he's 35. Because after a while, you just sort of forget what it's like to be in that age group, and that's why I asked the question. I find that very interesting.
Yes.
I also know that bullying is a problem. You seem to have found your own way. I don't think you let the other kids really affect you that much, but how would you handle bullying, or what advice do you have for people that are victimized by bullies?
Honestly, I'm not really bullied, but I do face a lot of people like making fun of what I do, kind of doubting that I can actually do this. And whenever people make fun of me for wearing leather pants, I get on Amazon and I buy more leather pants. I don't let it get to me. I love what I'm doing, and I know that it's going to work out and it's going to be worth it.
Do you have a lot of friends that you hang out with at school on a regular basis?
I do have a few friends that I used to be in a band with. We're pretty good friends at school, but really I'm there for not a lot of time, so I really just get in, do my schoolwork, and head to the studio, and that's where I love to be.
Well, let's talk about your studio a little bit. Why don't you give us an idea of what the studio looks like, if you can?
So the studio I'm signed at for a management deal is called The Playroom. It's located in Charlotte, North Carolina. It is run by Eddie Z, and I believe there are 40 rehearsal rooms, and
wow.
It has a very big production room where I spend most of my time. It was actually built for Usher, and it also has a national room. And the Playroom has hosted 30-plus Grammy nominations or award winners. And I actually just got to hang out with Tesla a few months back. They were rehearsing for a live show at Abbey Road, and I got to sit in on their rehearsal in the production room. So that was really cool for me.
Tesla's one of my favorites. Oh, do you have any Tesla albums?
I do not.
You got to get the Great Radio Controversy and the various other ones. Tesla is a great rock group, and you'll learn a lot by hanging out with those guys. Really nice guys as well.
They were super cool, and it was really cool to see, like, they still did it how they did it back in the 70s and 80s. Like, they were really that old-school rock band. They weren't doing the backing tracks. Like, they were true to what they did back in the day. It was really cool for me to see that, too. And
that's how you record, right? You set up your band in the studio, and you just roll a tape, and you go for it, correct?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's recording live, as I would call it. I don't know what you guys call it when you're in the studio. Now, if you were to put together your super group, and it doesn't matter what genre we're talking about. If Beethoven's part of your super group, that's cool. What would be your super group, and what instruments would they play?
For starters, Nita Strauss on guitar. She is my guitar hero, and honestly, she's really helped me out a lot, and I think she's a phenomenal player. So we've got Nita Strauss on guitar, Steve Harris on bass, one of the most influential people in my life. I am so amazed by him and his technique. Who's on drums? Let's see. A drummer's a hard one.
Yeah? Well, how about Carmine Appice? Look him up. That's your rock and roll homework. Or his brother. Or maybe the drummer from Tesla. He'd be good, right?
Oh, yes. I think that's Troy.
Yeah, Troy, that's right. Yeah, good job. Yeah, see, so I guess that I ask you these questions, and I would assume that these are some of the things that you talk about on the regular basis with your friends, or who would you have in your super group, or when I was a kid, when I was your age, one thing I did do, and you're a big fan of classic rock, so this is what I would be talking about. I would recognize the songs within 3 notes. I would have the information in my head somehow of what album it was on, what track it was, on the vinyl, right? So cut number 2 on vinyl side 1. Physical Graffiti was my favorite album because back in the day, anytime you go to the record store, you got a double album. Man, that was great. And Physical Graffiti is one of those albums that's like the greatest hits of Led Zeppelin, and had the song Kashmir on it, and Houses of Holy, which was not on Houses of Holy. Their track listings and the way they named their albums was a little bit off, but that's the kind of thing that I would do. Who's some of the groups that you've seen in concert?
So I actually just saw this summer. I had a lot of concerts to go to with my dad. He's definitely my concert buddy. I love going to see shows with him. So just this past summer, we saw Kiss twice, once in Raleigh and once in Charlotte.
Uh-huh.
We saw Alice Cooper for the second time.
Nice.
And that was in Cleveland. And we actually got guest passes for the band by Nita Strauss. She met us at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and said, "How many passes do you want?"
Wow.
And I was blown away by that. I could not believe that actually happened. And then I also saw Iron Maiden. And that Iron Maiden, we didn't have as good of seats, but even without seeing the show, just hearing the show and knowing they were up there, I've got to be honest, I cried multiple times during that show.
Wow, that's totally awesome. And I can see why. Iron Maiden, they're not going to be around much longer, and so I guess they're doing one of those farewell tours. Sometimes I kind of don't pay attention to all the different concerts, because over the years, now I can remember, Abby, talking to Abby Kay, that in 1982, this is well before you were born, obviously, The Who were doing their final tour. Well, The Who's still around, and they're still rocking and rolling. And every time I hear an artist go, "We're on our final tour," it turns out to be there's always one more that they have going on down the road. Now, are you going to, in the next concert season, as I call it, when school's over, when you're done, do you have any plans to doing any touring?
Yes, we are already talking to booking agents. We do plan for me to be on tour next summer, but we are also trying to get some just like not local but regional dates starting after January. So just maybe a few shows here and there on weekends. And Yeah, so we are going to be doing touring next summer. That is definitely my biggest goal right now.
Hey, that's totally awesome. I think that's just the way to go about it, and gives you something to do, something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Now, if you were going to talk to let's just go back a couple of years. What age did you start getting into music big time? When you knew that this is what you wanted to do, and when you started to record and write?
So I was introduced at age 5. I saw Kiss at 12.
Okay.
And when I decided that music was going to be my life, it was probably the first time I saw Alice Cooper with Nita Strauss.
Wow.
That was almost a year ago. It wasn't that long ago. And that's what amazes me, like everything that can happen when you put your mind to it in less than a year. It was last October, and from that moment that I declared music is my life, I've been able to sign a management deal.
Wow.
And all of these amazing things have been able to happen to me. So I'm very thankful for that, and it makes me realize that once you're set on doing something, you can do it.
Okay. Well, then there's no sense in asking you what you would talk to about the 12-year-old you or another young person. You just gave us the answer without even me asking. Let's talk about your video and your song. And by the way, I got to thank you, Abby Kay. You really made my day when one day I came home from work, and I wasn't really having all that great of a day. You know, we have them. And you know about some of the computer problems I've had that we can't talk about on the air. So I was coming home. I'm like kind of beat. I'm aggravated. I'm annoyed. A little bit of my head down, you know, like, gosh darn it kind of thing. And I open up my mailbox, and you're the only one I can, I can't remember. You're the only artist who's ever sent me a thank you card where you wrote it out and said, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
Really?
Yes, that is very cool. So, you know,
it's all I can do. I mean, you're helping me out, so I've got to be appreciative of that.
Well, you know what? I think your parents are doing a great job raising you and teaching you the values that will really make a difference in your life. And being thankful and grateful is really, it's a blessing. So thank you very much for the card that you sent me. It meant a lot to me. I've got it up in my room where it can never, ever get lost. It's with my little vinyl collection. So it's almost
awesome.
like sitting next to a bar of gold. So I'll always cherish that. Talk about your single, and there's a video that goes along with it. It's a really interesting song, and you could talk about maybe the actress who is in the video, which is not you, but it's your character. So talk to us about It Should Have Been Me and the video and the members of the band and the I guess I'll use the term genesis of the whole concept.
So about a year ago, I auditioned for a band. They told me I was their best option, but then they still didn't pick me. And I didn't know if that was because I'm a girl or I was only 15 at the time, but I was mad. And I went home from the audition and I wrote It Should Have Been Me. It was the first song I ever wrote, but somehow I just sat down and it was like it poured out of me. It was just, all of a sudden I had my first finished song. And so about 6 months later, I got the opportunity to record that song. And now it is out on Orchard, Sony, on all streaming platforms. And I still am in shock that I can look up It Should Have Been Me on Spotify and my name comes up.
That's awesome.
That's insane. So we did do a music video for it. It's on YouTube. And the actress playing younger Abby, we call her Abby too. We did not know her before. We just found her. She's actually a 6th grader at my high school. Well, my school is kindergarten through 12th grade.
Right, gotcha.
So, she's actually a 6th grader there, and we were looking for someone with blonde hair and blue eyes. She had never done acting before. She's not a musician, and she came in and she killed it.
Nice.
So yeah. And then the members of my band can be seen in the live scene of the music video, but that's actually different than the band that recorded.
Okay.
So the band that recorded It Should Have Been Me, we have Logan Foland on guitar. He is new to the scene, but you're going to hear a lot about him coming up. He's super talented, and he is my permanent guitarist. And then we also have Pat Jarasia and Dave McGarry from the national touring band Red Sun Rising on guitar and drums. And then in the actual music video, we couldn't get Pat and Dave because they were on tour in Canada. So we got Nick and Gavin, and they really killed it, and they looked great in the video.
Far out and groovy. So here's what we're going to do right now. We're going to play the song on the weekend show, Big Fat American Radio Rock Show. And we're also going to play it right now on this interview segment, which is across, you ready for this? We're on iHeart.com, radio.com, Spotify, which I agree with you. When you see your name on Spotify or your work on Spotify, that is really cool. And various other platforms. So here we go with the new single from Abby K, It Should Have Been Me, on the Big Fat American Rock Show.
Just to please. Did he play the part with his old guitar better than I could from the start? Look at me now, I'll take my bow, I'll prove myself somehow. Nowadays you regret the choices that you made. Fixed or changed. It should have been me, and you know it. It should have been me, and I'll show it. It should have been me, and you know it. It should have been me. Should have been me. It should have been me. Second best with not me. You should have picked me when you had the chance. Now look at me. I gave everything, he gave nothing. What does that teach? Don't you regret it? I guess he won the bet, but it still stings. Nowadays you regret the choices that you made, the mistakes that can't be fixed or changed. It should have been me, and you know it. It should have been me, and I'll show it. It should have been me, and you know it. It should have been me, should have been me. It should have been me. Flash forward 20 years, I make a big appearance on my stage of dreams, playing for sold out crowds. You wish you had me now, just you wait and